Hello, I'm Stefan from Extreme Distribution, and in this how-to video I will show you how to operate Capella Cambria Live. We are talking about the desktop live transcoding application, so it's typically for event streaming and manual operations. Here on my laptop I'm connected to our demo lab, where we have one virtual machine where this software is already opened. The first thing to do in the very left-hand column is I need to connect a source. So in our case, at least we need a capture source, because typically we have a live input. In our environment here, we have some playouts that are done with NDI. So I try to fish an NDI source, and that one here is our Extreme TV playout. So that should now connect to that video, and here we go. If we hover over it, we get more details about the source. We can set the source parameters. So in that case, for instance, we could select an alternative audio input, but makes no sense in that case. As you have spotted on the right-hand side, we can have other sources, like, for instance, files or playlists. Let's make a playlist that's empty that very moment. Now there's the question, how do we get material into that playlist? We can do that manually by loading a file or multiple. Here we have some sample sources. I will try to load some of them in one shot. Now that's a playlist of files that are then later on played back to back. It does not matter what format they are, they will all work. They can have different resolutions, aspect ratios, or whatsoever, it does not matter. So on the next strip, we can have a picture-in-picture situation. I will show that in a different movie where we can have a little bit deeper insights. The idea is that you can have, for instance, two people talking to each other if you are in such a web studio situation where you have 2 or 3 cameras or virtual cameras where you have this kind of talking head situation. Or we can have layers. Layers is about scrolling titles, title slates, even complete graphics. So it's how you compose your video. And that brings us to the topic about the composition. The idea here is such a setup can be stored, and later on in the live show, we are not calling all the individual picture-in-picture scenarios or titles, but we are just calling the compositions. For this high-level overview, let's jump into the target section, because the main question is we want to stream to whatever place, and for that reason we need to set up a target. An easy target can be an RTMP target, and for this we have an RTMP URL here on our streaming servers, and I think the stream is called simply stream. We can test the connection. It was successful. In our case, we don't need to type in any username and password, but what we shall do is we should have a look on to the actual encoding settings. There are presets delivered with the system. So let's say, for instance, you want to do a live streaming in HD resolution. And that will create now this RTMP stream that goes to the origin server, 25 frames per second, and so on, audio settings. And basically that's it. As this is a live output, we don't need to split into files or whatsoever. We are done like this. You press OK, and now we move the preview to the program. That means now we are ready to start, but there's one important thing missing. We have not yet started the streaming, and that is done with this button here on the very right-hand bottom corner. That will now call the source to be encoded and delivered out to the RTMP streaming server. Here in the lower status bar, we see the processing speed. So that does not mean we are fully loaded, but it means we are all good. So all green means we are all good. And we are also all good with the delivery speed, so with the networking. And we see the current CPU load on our small virtual machine is around about 35%. There are various other options that we can do. They are about controlling ad insertion, controlling an automatic start and stop, sending out Twitter notifications, and many more. That is something that we will probably elaborate on a special how-to video. what I like to show you here is that we have many other delivery targets. So various CDNs or standards. You will find, for instance, an RTP, UDP streaming. You will find 6C, SRT. You can create HLS streams, or there's the integration to YouTube and Facebook, so social media, or to other clouds, for instance, Bright Cove, and so on and so on. Thank you so much for joining me here in this video for a very first high-level overview on Cambria Live.